Morning, legends. We have finally tapped into this level we've been anticipating on Ethereum for the past 2 weeks. Is it time for us to pull the trigger yet? I'm going to make this short and sweet. The answer is no. We haven't had all of our conditions met. Now, in the last video I spoke about, we need to see a market structure shift with strong volume come in here to tell us that the market does intend on reversing. Right, your safer bets are going to be after we get a push up and then we pull back. And then we can look for longs through here. All right, this is where we want to look to buy. We also haven't had the weekly high taken on USDT.D. All right, we don't want to see them leave this weekly high behind. We need to have confluence across all of our levels. I spoke about this, that the market is unlikely to bottom until USDT.D tops, and I'm expecting them to top at this weekly high. So we don't have our conditions met just yet, but we are extraordinarily close. Something that could throw a spanner in the works here, and it's something that's very, very important, man. This is probably going to be the biggest news event of the entire year, and the reason for that is because it's our first news after government shutdown. There could be some massive, massive news coming through here, all right? Now is not the time to be going full balls deep risk, all right? Dollar cost averaging 10% or something like that for a long-term hold, not a bad idea at all. But going full balls deep before this massive news event is not the right thing to do. All right, during these news events, what they can do is push the market far past technical levels, or potentially, man, we could get something massive that throws this whole thing off. So right now, really important to just sit on your hands and wait for this news event. Now, others, something I want to make clear here is that I'm not expecting a massive alt season. I'm expecting a big fat alt run. Now, I'm only looking at, 100, 200% on these altcoins, which to me is plenty, all right? Looking at 40, 50% move upside to Ethereum, which to me, again, is more than enough to make some good money on. I'm only looking for them to push up here on others before we continue this sell-off. Now, what I'm looking at is for this to be a true alt season bottom. I think it was much more likely that something like this is going to be our bottom for altcoins. All right. I'm not looking for this massive, massive alt season that people are anticipating. I'm looking for 100 to 200% on altcoins before a big fat sell-off that takes us into this level where I think we get our true bottom. All right. So just to rehash, we need to see USDT.D take this level. We need to see Ethereum get a 1 hour market structure shift. We need to see Ethereum push up past these previous highs and then come back and retest. And we need to be very, very mindful that I don't think this run is going to last months and months and months and months. I'd be looking, a much shorter time frame than that. You're looking at probably 2 or 3 weeks worth of alt rally if we get our confirmation through here. And the last thing to go over is that, look, man, this news could be really bad. It could be really, really, really bad. All right, so it's not the time to rush into the market through here. This thing could throw a massive spanner in the works, throw all this TA off, everything could go horrendously. All right, so the news is in like 10 hours, man. If you can just wait, if you can just sit on your hands until then before deploying enormous amounts of capital. Like I said, it's probably not a bad idea to dollar cost average 10, 20% of your portfolio for a longer term hold, right? We know this stuff, especially in something like Ethereum, all right? So, is going to have longevity in the future so that if we get this massive run, you can psychologically keep your FOMO at bay. So look, need to see this level tapped, need to see the market structure shift, this level on USDT.D, and need to wait for this news. Any questions, guys? I'll be in the Discord. We'll trade these together in the Discord. As always, take care.